Welcome to Latte with a Lawyer, a podcast dedicated to bringing you the stories of some of America's most successful lawyers, figuring out what makes them tick, how they creatively solve problems, and how others aspiring to be them can follow in their footsteps.
Okay, guys, welcome to another episode of Latte with a Lawyer. Today we have an interesting guest here from the West Coast, Monica Mazzei. And she's with the firm of Sideman Bancroft. And welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Excellent. So just to kick things off here, I know it's early in the morning there. What's your favorite beverage to get you started in the morning?
So I am having right now an Americano with a splash of almond milk.
Very nice. So you like strong coffee then?
I do. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Because I know Americano is strong. Do you make it yourself or you get it from Starbucks?
I make it myself.
Oh, very nice. And I've also weaned myself off of dairy. I just use coconut milk or almond milk too.
Yeah, you can't tell you can't really tell the difference. You get used to it.
No, you absolutely do get used to it. And except for a little bit of ice cream once in a while, I'm kind of like off all that stuff. It doesn't agree with me anymore. So cool. Well, anyway, so you're a West Coast person. It looks like is that where you're from? Are you from the West Coast?
I am. I'm from San Francisco and I've always lived in California. So I've never ventured far, but it's a great place to live. So I think I'm pretty stuck here.
Yeah, no, it's a nice place. I used to travel out there quite a bit for business. It's been a while. San Francisco is a great city. And your office is in San Francisco?
Yes, we have an office in San Francisco and one in Paris. But I live here in the Bay Area, so working remotely most of the time. But
oh, you are still working remotely? Okay.
Yep. Most of us are still working remotely. So kind of a hybrid, going into the office some days, but mainly working from home.
Okay. So reading your background, looks like you have a really interesting practice. So tell us what you do and how you spend your day.
I will. So the last 20 some years, I have been practicing family law. I have a little bit of an unusual practice in that I don't handle any child custody or any kid issues. So I just focus on the financial part of the divorce. So usually cases involving private equity firms, venture capital firms, hedge funds. I live near Silicon Valley, so we get a lot of privately held companies, a lot of stock option issues. So I just help people in terms of valuing their assets and financially disentangling themselves in a divorce.
Okay. So, but it looks like you're, just from reading your back, it looks like you're also focused on like high net worth people. So you must have some interesting clients that you work with. Give us a little bit of color.
Yes. Well, there's a lot of money here in California, as people know. And so we do have a lot of wealthy, tech money. There's a lot of startups here in Silicon Valley, a lot of successful privately held companies. So, not only am I involved in divorces, but I'm also involved in prenups involving high net worth couples. And recently, just in the last, I would say 2 years, a lot of cryptocurrency. So a lot of clients that have, made their wealth in crypto platforms and mining crypto. So it's kind of an interesting area now. In family law.
So give me an example, like a typical case that you would work on.
Most of our cases are the estates are maybe 100 million plus. So
big.
A lot of big estates.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of complicated assets. They might have a lot of trusts that we need to, revoke, untangle. There's a lot of privately held investments. A lot of people use their money to make angel investments. So, they just have a lot of private investments. We need to decide what's going to happen with that. And then usually they have their own business. So we have to decide whether we're valuing the business, if the other spouse is going to kind of stay in and ride along, or get cashed out, and what is that going to look like, and how much, and how do we structure that deal? A lot of times someone doesn't have the liquidity on their balance sheet to write a big check to the other person. So we have to get creative in terms of how we're going to structure that deal. So it's actually a very interesting, creative exercise. And I really like trying to put these settlements together. It's kind of like putting together all these pieces of a puzzle.
Yeah, I would think so. So I would imagine you probably need financial experts involved to help with valuing assets, things like that.
Yes, valuation experts, forensic accountants, appraisers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've had to use an expert for all kinds of things. I had to use an expert in a high-end exotic car restoration business, Persian rug business. So you get to learn about a lot of different types of companies when you do this work, which I think is fascinating.
Where do you get your experts from? Do you have a sort of a group that you use all the time, or how do you find them?
Yeah, you know, I think over the years, I've curated my short list of my go-to people that I like to use, that, you know, you just work with over the years. So I tend to work with the same experts, especially forensic accountants. Those people are very helpful when you're getting a divorce. So I have a very short list of people that I typically work with.
Got it. I mean, like in other cases, do you rely on the opinion of these experts? Like, I mean, do you ever go to trial in these things, and you need them to support your case?
Yes, very rarely do we go to trial. Most of these clients here in California, high net worth, are using private judges.
Okay.
So we're taking the case completely out of the public court system for privacy reasons, and just to get the case done a little bit faster. The court systems here in California are fairly slow, and since COVID, very backlogged. So it's even more of a reason not to be in the public court system. So we do use private judges, and we're all meeting on Zoom these days, still not in person. And these forensic accountants, they will even participate in settlement conferences. They'll issue reports, they'll talk directly to the judge, and then if you really need them to, which is rare, and you have to go to trial, they do testify at trial.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have you actually had to go to a courtroom?
Well, for a full-blown trial, probably only about a dozen.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say very rarely. And I think the goal is to not go to trial. So I think it's a successful case if you have a settlement agreement and you don't have to go to trial. That's a success. So
yeah, interesting. And so, I mean, is it exclusively ultra high net worth people, or do you have a whole spectrum of people?
You know, we have a range in our office, you know, for smaller estates, you know, all the way up to kind of, I would say, ultra high net worth. So, you know, there's a range, but we tend to, because we offer such complicated services, we tend to get clients that kind of really need a certain level of help on their divorce.
You have a brand, I would imagine at this point, they know to come to you.
Sideman Bancroft has had a very strong family law department, you know, for a couple decades now. So it is kind of the go-to place if you're in Silicon Valley or San Francisco. And unfortunately, you need our services.
Yeah. Do you also cover the rest of the country, or is it mainly West Coast?
You know, it's only West Coast. We don't have any attorneys that practice our practice in other states. But, you know, what's developed from living in such an international city is that my practice now involves people that maybe live half-time here and half-time in Shanghai or France. And so what happens when those people go to get divorced is it's kind of a crossover between California law and some international. So over the years, I've had cases, particularly with China and France, of expats, you know, living in those cities or part-time or owning property or companies there.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have to collaborate with other attorneys in those countries?
Yes. Yeah, so now I have kind of family law contacts in Singapore and France, and again, I think it's so interesting. I love to talk to different attorneys, especially from other countries, and find out about their practice and how they work, or even how their office functions. some of it's very different from how we operate in the US. So I love the international cases.
Interesting. How big is your group that works on these cases?
Our family law group within Sideman is pretty small. I'm the only partner, and some associates and paralegals. But also what's a little bit different about our firm and being on the West Coast, most family lawyers here in California are either solo practitioners, or maybe they've joined up with a couple other attorneys, so a smaller office. So Sideman's a bigger firm and they handle other things, not just family law, corporate estate planning, brand protection. So, because I'm there, I'm able to draw on the resources that we have. So sometimes corporate counsel will come into a case, if we have a particular issue that, we need, business documents drawn up or reviewed. Estate planning, I work with that group a lot. Most of my clients need a new estate plan once they get divorced. So we work a lot with estate planning. So it's a small family law practice within a bigger firm that has a lot of resources. So it's a little bit unusual in that sense.
Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. Is there any one case that you could talk about that stands out without naming people? Like, was it one more interesting case that comes to mind?
Well, my favorite story is actually not a divorce story, but a prenup story. And this was maybe almost 10 years ago. I had a client come to my office. She must have been in her 20s at the time. And she was getting married and she was adamant that she needed a prenup. So I asked about her assets and she didn't have any. She didn't own a home. I think that maybe she had a bank account, but she had an idea for a company. And she was just starting it. And she told me the idea for the company. And I thought in my head, which is why I'm a lawyer and I'm not an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Gosh, so that's never going to work. I don't really see people, kind of buying into this service she's going to do. So, but she was adamant that she wanted to make sure that this business was her separate property, and she was very passionate. So we do the premarital agreement and we sign it, and I don't really think much of it. And about 2.5 years later, I'm at the airport and I'm, in the magazine store before my flight, and I see her on the cover of Forbes, and the company is now valued in the billions. So
Amazing.
What do I know about a successful company? I didn't think it was a very good idea, but apparently it was. And I just thought, she really didn't have much to protect except her idea, but she knew enough. And that was important enough for her to, kind of stand up for herself and say, look, I think this is going to be worth something. And, good for her. Like, she went through the cost and the time and the exercise to put that agreement together. And, it just blew my mind that, her company turned out to be what it was, and, kind of how smart and ahead of her time she was. So I love that.
Probably changed your practice a little bit too, that was another consideration, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, so I'm a big proponent of a premarital agreement for anyone, quite frankly, because I think the family law system, especially in California, has a lot of faults, and I don't necessarily agree with the California Family Code. So I'm all for people creating their own marriage contract. I mean, you can opt out of what California provides, and create your own agreement about what will happen. So I'm a big proponent of prenups. Even if you don't have any assets, you should think about, look, if this doesn't work out, don't we want to predetermine what's going to happen so we don't have to pay people like Monica a bunch of money? The states don't do a good job of informing people before they get married about what they're walking into. You don't get a pamphlet, no one sits you down and makes you watch a video about what you're signing up for. But it's a lot, and people are often shocked after they get married about what they just agreed to. All my earnings are going to be joint, what? In my business, if I start a business, that's going to be, community property, a lot of times, especially in where I live and with the younger generations, both people are starting companies. Both people are maybe entrepreneurs. It's
Sure.
equally as important to both of them that their babies, their companies stay their own. So I'm a big proponent for creating your own marriage contract, even if you don't have any assets.
Interesting. What are the big flaws, like the big sort of gross flaws in the California system?
Well, I think one is, unlike some other states, we don't have a formula to determine spousal support, or what some states call alimony. We don't have a computer software system. We don't have a formula. We have these 13 factors that a judge can consider, and depending on what county you're in, what judge you have, and what side of the bed that they woke up on that morning, you could get very different results. It's very inconsistent. I think it's probably the most litigated issue in family law in California is spousal support. So things that a prenup can do, to address that is you can actually agree on a formula ahead of time, so if there's a divorce, you're not subject to this kind of very broad gray area way of determining the amount and the length of support.
Yeah.
It actually predetermine how it's going to be figured out.
I mean, I would imagine it's a pretty awkward conversation to have as you're going into this thing expecting only the best, right? To have that discussion.
Yes, I tell people I can't guarantee you that this isn't, going to be awkward and a little uncomfortable. But people are getting more used to the idea. I think hearing about prenups in the media and celebrity prenups helped that and make it a bit more normalized. The younger generations don't seem to be as offended by it. I think at a different time it was, people would be very upset if they were presented with the idea of having a prenup. And I think nowadays it's more socially acceptable. People are talking about it at cocktail parties. So
yeah, it's crazy. So in the example that you gave of this huge success, did they stay married?
Yes, they're still married.
Very good. Good. So it was a happy ending there.
Yes. So far, so good.
Good. I know you probably can't say what the business was, right?
I cannot, because then you would
really, I'm really curious to know what that is. I mean, I've been around some of those things. Like I lived in Bethesda, Maryland, and the woman started Blue Mercury, which you may know about, cosmetic business, fabulously successful. And I wonder if they had a prenup.
No, I would imagine so. A lot of anyone that works with a financial advisor nowadays, usually the financial advisors know enough to at least bring it up or, plant a seed saying, hey, do you think you should get a prenup? Most financial advisors now are pretty savvy about that.
Yeah, exactly. So how'd you get started? I mean, how'd you become a lawyer, and why you're in this type of practice?
Well, my mom said, what do you want to be when you grow up, a doctor or a lawyer? So I picked
two choices. That's it. Just to
she did say that, and I joke, but my dad was an attorney, so I definitely had inspiration there. And I decided maybe about 6th or 7th grade to be an attorney, and I never changed my mind after that. I went to law school in Los Angeles thinking that I was going to do entertainment law. I did an internship my first year of law school at Hearst Entertainment, and I thought, this is so boring. This is not what I thought it was going to. It was, looking at contracts all day, very transactional, not what I had thought. I didn't kind of meet up to my glamorous expectation that I had of it. And so I thought, I don't really know what I'm going to do. In my last year of law school, I took family law just because it fit in my schedule. And it was my favorite class, my best grade. I absolutely loved it. I loved reading the cases. It really connected that the cases involved real families, real individuals. At the time I was in law school, it was the first same-sex custody case in California was being tried. So that was a very interesting issue, then. And I just thought it was fascinating and said, this is more entertaining than entertainment law ever was. And this is what I want to do. And I started off at a firm in Beverly Hills, which was a great starting ground to practice divorce law.
I bet you had some great experiences there, I'm sure.
Yes. Yes, it was very interesting and very fun. And then I took a position with a global law firm that at the time had family law, knowing that that was going to probably be the last large firm in California to have family law, which it was. And that's where I started to learn about complex financial issues that really work on ultra high net worth cases.
Mm.
And that was my learning ground for figuring all of this out and learning how venture capital works and private equity and hedge funds. So, and I, about 15 years ago, decided I was not going to handle any child related issues anymore. And I think that's been really instrumental in the success of the cases I handle, because what happens is it prevents people from tying together the kids and the money. So when I'm having a discussion, it's just on the finances. And if the kids are brought into it, well, we'll agree to, this schedule, if he pays this, I get to say, oh, sorry, I don't handle that part. I can only talk about the money part. And it really separates them. And I think it's better for the family. And I think we get better resolutions because of it.
Interesting. What was your undergraduate degree?
My undergraduate degree was in English literature.
Okay.
I did not do pre-law, even though I knew I was going to go to law school.
But you knew it. You knew you were going to go to law school.
I knew I was going to go to law school, but I wanted to pick a subject that I really loved, because I knew it wouldn't quite matter so much what my undergrad was going into law school. I'd learn what I needed to in law school. So I picked something that I was just passionate about and loved, which is reading. And so English literature, but it's come in handy.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I do a lot of writing and drafting. So.
Oh, I mean, there's no question. I mean, communication skills are, numero uno in anything really. So that's interesting. Yeah, my daughter's getting she's studying sociology as an undergraduate. It's like, what are you gonna do with that? So I think grad school's in the future for her too.
Well, that's the beauty of it. With a general undergrad like that, you could do anything and everything, right?
Right.
So, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think even investment bankers, which I used to work with quite a bit. I mean, they've even sort of relaxed. Used to be you got to go to business school and all this. Now they take just smart liberal arts students and they teach them what they need to know now. So I think it's good education.
Yes, I always tell people going into college or that have plans for law school, you should major in whatever you're best at, whatever you love to do, is you're going to have the best grades if you're in a subject matter that really resonates with you.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter so much if you're going to law school after that or some type of grad school. So you might as well pick what you're super interested in.
Makes sense. That's what I was going to ask you. So that would be your advice if you're interested in law school.
Yes, I don't think you need a certain undergrad at all. And so I would, and enjoy your 4 years of college as much as you can. And I think your grades will be better for it if you choose a major that you're really interested in and that you love.
Absolutely. I mean, easier said than done though, right? I mean, knowing exactly what you want, what you're going to like. I mean, it's not so easy.
No, it's not. That you can, that's why you could change if you need to.
We eventually get there, but some people are luckier than others where they sort of start on the right path. I would say my path in life has been pretty crooked, but I eventually sort of got there. I'm curious, since we're a technology company, do you use technology in your business, and how has that helped you or hurt you, or maybe in the middle?
Well, that's a very broad topic, technology. I think overall it's helped. It's definitely changed the practice of law.
Okay.
When I started practicing, we didn't even have email. So no one was really using email, not inter-office or emailing clients. We were still faxing letters. There were no iPhones. And so it was really when you left the office and you were only working when you were kind of in your seat. And I think, with obviously the iPhone and laptops, the client expectation is to have more access, to their family law attorney, especially. And you're kind of, on 24/7 almost. I would say that's it's hard not to have that downtime or to have that line drawn between work and personal. But on the other hand, and I will take the flip side any day, we have the ability to be so much more mobile and transient in our practice. So I can be anywhere and work. If I have my phone and my laptop, I can be on a Zoom settlement conference or a hearing. So I think overall it's been an advantage. And I just think, being able, to be anywhere and work from anywhere has been just a game changer for the practice of law. And also for the clients, I think they're not paying for attorneys, to drive, 2 hours to a court appearance and back. It's so much more efficient. So while people might have access to you, and I think there's no more 9-to-5 office hours, I think the flexibility is worth the trade-off.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. I mean, I hear this consistently. Yeah. I mean, the fact that you can eliminate a lot of the, things like travel and, for one meeting, an hour, you can do it via, Zoom, it just creates much greater efficiencies, right? We're not going to go back to the old way of doing things.
I do not think so.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. That's terrific. Okay, excellent. So I'll wrap this up here, but if somebody wants to get in touch with you and they have an ultra high net worth portfolio, what's the best way for someone to reach you?
Well, if you Google my name, my website will come up at Sideman Bancroft, and on there is a phone number and an email. I think email is always best. It's mmazzei@sideman.com. But all the contact information is on our website.
Excellent. Good. Well, listen, it's been great to have you, and it's been interesting to hear about your practice. And again, this has been Monica Mazzei from Sideman Bancroft in San Francisco. Thank you for joining us today. This show is sponsored by EmotionTrac, and we use artificial intelligence to collect nonverbal insights that people use for case preparation for mediations and trials. Thank you very much, Monica.
Oh, thank you. This was so fun. Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it.
Thanks. Bye-bye.